Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name. Welcome to another Octopath COTC video today. Today, we're going to be doing our first impressions, I wouldn't really call it a full review. If you want to just see how much time I have in the game, I'm at 53 hours. So first impressions, I think, is a little understatement, but also I think a review might be a little generous for where I'm at. But I originally recorded basically a video like this after a week. Other videos got in the way, so I'm just gonna re-record it now that it's been a couple more days. I think this is day 10. But yeah, basically my opinions on the game, the pros, the cons, and then we'll do a little bit of an account show and tell so you guys can see what I got for the money that I've spent. We'll jump all into that in just a second here. So I'm just gonna be kind of wandering around Nameless Town. I might teleport around, but it's not really about the locations. But what do I think about the game overall? After 50 something hours, I've definitely hit the quote unquote wall of experience. Like, it takes a long time to get experience right now, so you either have to invest a lot of time into grinding experience, or you have to just not spend a lot of time but play every day to get the daily big experience bonuses. You know, get the hunts, get the nut farm going, get the daily Kate ad fights. So you can just do that over the course of a couple weeks to get levels, which is totally fine. I'm trying to play a bit more. I'm actually going a little slow compared to what some other players are at, so I think I'm going to grind for a couple hours tonight. But all the way up until now, though, I would say this game has been like borderline phenomenal is the way I would say it. I don't want to go all the way that far. Like, it is a gacha. Gacha has an inherently negative monetization, in my opinion, and it's predatory and it's not for everyone. And you know, it could feed into gambling addicts. There's a lot of negatives to say about gacha. There are some positives where they can make a game of this caliber, this quality, for $0 for people to play, so people that don't invest money can still have a wonderful time, right? So there's goods and bads of gachas. I think they tend to lean towards the bad personally, but I'm not blind to the positives. But the reason I say it's borderline phenomenal is, like, the game has been so ridiculously fun. It's the story is really good, and this is like the first time I've played a game on phone where I feel like I could say this game is good and then put a period there. I don't need to say this game is good for a phone game. This game is good for a gacha. This game is good for a, you know, whatever. Like, I can feel like I could just say this game is good. Like, it's a good video game. It doesn't have dumbed down combat mechanics. The controls are a little more streamlined, a little easier to do. Like, you know, being able to, like, it's dumbed down a little bit in the world exploration because, right, you can see we're on these rails, we're on these paths. You don't get 3D movement. You can move within these lines, but they do a pretty good job here. So this could be a big turnoff to some people. I personally kind of like it. I mean, maybe it's just because I get tired of it's good if I just want to walk somewhere, you know, like it's like flight paths in World of Warcraft, you know, but I guess literally everywhere. So that could be a positive, could be a negative. I really don't mind it at all. But the game doesn't have dumbed down combat mechanics. Like, the combat mechanics are, if anything, they're potentially more deep than the first Octopath, but it's at least like on par. In Octopath, you have a team of 4 characters, and they get more abilities per character than these ones do by the late game, and then they could dual class, so then you'll get twice as much per character. But in this game, you kind of have the dual class, right? Because you have the front line and the back line that are kind of like a unit. They share like a spot on your team, essentially, right? So you always have Gilderoy always has access to Paradier's attacks because they could switch spots, unless one of them dies, I guess, right? But so you actually build these teams of 8. It's very fun to come up with teams. We're still in the early stages where it's more about level caps and less about team synergy, but even now I can already see with like the base units which units, there's a lot of units that have good synergy together, and there's units that maybe are just a little redundant, weaker units, more strong units. It's very fun, the team building aspect for me. Let's actually just jump into a quick fight. I don't know, let's see, where am I farming at? I think I'm farming over here. And there might be some spoilers because I'm a little bit further into the game than some people. I'm going for the end. I'm not quite at the end of master of all, but that is where I am going to be going for in a second here. Other things I guess about the game that are great, the music is actually like phenomenal. It might even just be lifted off of Octopath 1, so maybe that's not really fair. But it's when you jump into a boss fight, it's so fucking good and so fucking hype. Like, I absolutely love when you jump into like a big boss fight. They look super cool. The presentation is great, and then you just hear the I can't even do it with my mouth, but it's like it's such a good feeling. I love really powerful musical moments in games where they're using the music to like manipulate your emotions, especially when it's more of a pump thing. If it's a little more, you know, sad, I don't really vibe with it as much, but it's definitely like amazing boss music. The battle theme I think is pretty good as well. I mean, again, all the music is good, but I think it's literally just taken from Octopath 1. I'm sure there's some new tracks, so I don't want to pretend like they didn't put any work into it. But as you can see here in the combat, right, you pick different things for each character. You could pick one of their, once they get an awaken or whatever, right, they get this many abilities, 4 abilities. You could switch. You have access to the 4 abilities of the back row and the baseline attack. So there's like a lot of options every turn because you have essentially 8 characters in a combat, but you never need to choose more than 4 actions, which is, I think, a huge bonus. When I first heard there was 8 characters, I was like, great, I'm gonna have to micromanage 8 individual characters. And it's true that there are 8 characters, but they did the smart thing in my opinion, and they actually halved. So you only have 4 actions a turn, right? So you have a front row and a back row. The back row heals every turn. They're safe. They can't take damage. I haven't seen any effects that affects the back row. If they have things like poison, they'll still be poisoned in the back row, but they'll also be healing every turn. So it's like the resting row, right? And then you switch people into the front row, and that's the combat row. So even though you have 8 characters, it doesn't feel overwhelming and that you're microing too much. It just feels like you've got a lot of options, but a limited amount of actions to use those. So it's like really cool. There's not like honestly a shit ton to say, because the game is very driven by a few things. I would say there's like 3 main pillars of the game, right? There's the mechanics, the combat, what you're doing. I guess mechanics would kind of expand a bit to the more meta progression as well, because there's a lot of grinding in it, so that could be pretty bad, but that's pretty RPG. Like, I think if you play RPGs, you're into it. But it's the mechanics, the story, and then the gotcha. I don't like having to say the gotcha. Again, I'm pretty negative on gotcha in general, even though I have a YouTube channel kind of based to it. You know, that's just they're fun games and I like them, even though I wish that they were just games that were didn't have gotcha mechanics. I'm not even paying attention. We might wipe here. I don't know. These fights are slightly hard enough where let's just switch all in attack, see what happens. So as far as the combat goes, even though this is just a random encounter, this is an auto fight. And I'm still losing though. It just shows like it's not that easy. But if I would have been paying attention, it would have been fine. But the boss fights have all been very good. The combat mechanics are very strong. Very bravely default Octopath 1. You know, if you play these kinds of games, you kind of know what you're getting in for. The bosses have all had unique and interesting mechanics. The big bosses, some of the lesser like elite bosses have just been kind of not cookie cutter, but they have a few subtypes and they haven't been super interesting. But the main boss fights have all had their own dedicated mechanics and styles of fighting, which have been very, very fun. The story, honestly, kind of out of this world, super good. There's been 4 main story plots that I've had access to so far. There's been Power, Wealth, Fame, and then Master of All. I would say Power stands out as being pretty not good. I did not think Power was good. It definitely, thank God I didn't play it first. I would have had a much more negative experience or much lower opinion of the game had that been my initial reaction. I thought it was kind of like, I would go as far as to say not very good. But Wealth was like pretty darn good. I had a great, I think it had a great buildup, but it ended a little suddenly, a little faster. I've kind of talked about this in the past. I didn't know that there was only 3 chapters. I thought it was going to be a 4 or 5 chapter thing. So when it kind of just like ended, I was not really ready for it. I thought there'd be more, I thought there'd be more stuff going on basically. For longer, I thought it'd be a more natural resolution with maybe another twist or something. But Wealth was, sorry, not Wealth. Fame was incredible. I would say that was like fucking the story arc, the buildup of this villain. It's a little Joker-esque, right? You know, where you're kind of, I want to say rooting for the bad guy, but the bad guy was very enjoyable, very, very evil. The characters in this game are very evil. A lot of adult themes. I mean, there's drugs, there's prostitution, there's murder, there's guys murdering children in front of their mothers, and the mothers choosing to allow that because they love the guy so much. There's inferred rape scenes, you know, like there's a lot of like incredibly adult themes in the game. I do feel like the visual style, people might look at the game and, you know, with the cats and the haha, thanks for playing Octopath, and they may not quite be ready for how dark the story gets. Like, it's still like kind of cartoony dark because it is a video game. It's not really gritty and real, but it is still kind of like a lot of adult themes. But Fame was kind of like, I think, exceptionally good. It's been the buildup of the bad guy was super good, very interesting, fun character. Has a catchphrase, you know, it's fun to have him hear the catchphrase. And now we're kind of in Master of All is the story after that, and it's been pretty, I would say it's the best so far. And the only reason I think it's better than Wealth is because of the length, where instead of 3 chapters, it's like 6 or 7 or something. I don't even know exactly. I would say that it's even better than Wealth because it's more of a real story. It's had time to develop. There's been characters, things have happened to the characters. There's resolutions to things, and then there's twists, and then there's more. You know, it's really got this nice arc going, where instead of being like a bite-sized story like the first 3 are, this one is definitely more of a meaty story, is a kind of a weird way to put it. But I would say it's been very good. The bad guys are they're not quite as good as Fame, but the bad guy is still really good. My second favorite bad guy so far. The good guys are very likable for the most part, and you know what, this is a game where, you know, we're the chosen, we're the superheroes. There are characters around us that are also trying to do good, and they're not superheroes. They don't always win, to say the least. The game is not afraid to, like, I mean, we have plot armor, but like, how could you have a game where you the protagonist just literally die? In this style of game, it doesn't really work. In a different, it would even be crazy in a game like a Final Fantasy game where suddenly you can't play Cloud, for example. You know, like even that kind of stuff is like crazy and groundbreaking. So it happens very rarely. So in this game, I don't suspect anything like that's going to happen. I think we, as the invisible player character traveler guy, the silent protagonist, we have plot armor, but everyone else, like, I don't know, they've been very compelling characters, and you know, some people have been Game of Thrones, is all I'll say. But yeah, I don't have much more to say. You know, overall, the gacha is not the most predatory out of the ones I've seen. It's definitely not the best. It's $30 for a multi, but they seem to run a decent amount of specials, things like that. The game at this stage is incredibly free-to-play friendly. Incredibly free-to-play friendly, I would say, actually. At this stage, I cannot speak. This is a gacha. They want you to play thousands of hours over years, probably, right? This is not, I can't speak what it's going to be like in the future. So, but at this point in time, at launch, very free to play friendly. Because the 4-star characters are great. The 3 stars are kind of dookie shoes, but the 4 stars, if you use the 4 out of 4 stars, I think they're very strong. Sorry, we're just sitting here. Honestly, I'm afraid I'm going to die if I go to another one. So let's go rest at the Nameless Town. But yeah, overall, I would say it's my first impressions. I don't. No, this is, again, this isn't really a review. I'm not going into the details about a lot of stuff. I'm just kind of giving my overall opinions on things, but very positive so far. I was a little nervous when I heard about this game. Like, I know it's a gacha, and I'm kind of a sucker for gachas with, just in general. Like, if there's a cool new gacha that comes out, sometimes I'll try it if it's like an IP that I like. Like, I played Dislight, I played Dragon Quest Tac, so I don't play everything, but I'm kind of a sucker for a game that I could play in my bed or whatever while like laying down to go to bed at night, and I could just grind a little bit, or they could play itself. So this game isn't really like that, though. This game has no energy like most gachas. It doesn't have any kind of autoplay feature. You've got to play it manually. It's very much, this is a single player RPG with a gacha in it. Which, you know, I didn't really know who this game was for when I was conceptualizing it, but now I see it's just for, I think, pretty much everyone, because it's just really, really fun, really good, really well done. But there's always going to be that, but it's a gotcha. But it's not, yeah, it's good for a phone game. Like I said, it's just good. And honestly, completely ignore the gotcha. Well, don't ignore it. Go ahead and get your free-to-play currency and pull on those. But you're going to have a great time for, at least I'm already 50 hours in, and I could have spent $0 and we would have been good. I did promise that we would go over my account so far. So my account is about 200 in right now, 250 in. So how I'm saying, oh, you could play free to play. He spent $250. This guy's crazy. So I spent $50 because I wanted to treat this as a console release. Basically, when it came out, I was like, all right, I want to spend $50 just to, that's how I justified it to myself. But I was like, all right, I want to just, that's all I'm going to spend. I'll spend $50 and then maybe I'll do like a subscription fee in my own head, and I'll do like $10 a month or something like that. 15 probably. But then I started making YouTube videos. They started doing well. So I was like, all right, I can make content on this game. And the content looks like it'll do well. So I bought another thing. That way I could do some polls. And then I found out I had some money in my Google Play account from a game I played like a year ago that I had never used. So I converted that over. So I was $150 in, $160 in. And then I just did a stream where people donated, and I took their donations and spent them in the game. And then I matched those donations. So that was like another $60, 30 from them, 30 from me. It's kind of like a way for people to contribute to the content. So yeah, I've spent money in the game. All right. I don't know how much, I don't know what the average spender is, but I've definitely spent a good amount, and I have, I think, quite a bit to show for it. But you know, it's not like my account is completely busted, and it's not like I'm just dropping hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars randomly. It was very specifically, there was a reason behind every spend. I mean, I don't need to justify it, but if someone doesn't play gotcha and that sounds like a ridiculous amount, know that your experience will vary. You don't need to spend what I've did. I've done it specifically for content, for poll videos, for community stuff, just to make sure that I'm maintaining it. So if you do want an account like mine, there's a good chance it will cost you more money though. Like that, this isn't, you know, I'm an average player, and in a sense, I'm an average player that's spent this much. So my account should be, I've had a little bit of bad luck, but my account is relatively representative of what you'll get when you spend the money in terms of travelers. So let's kind of take a quick look. I've got 5-star Viola, 5-star Gilderoy. Can we sort this by class? Yeah, let's sort this by class. There we go. So as far as the 5 stars, I've got Viola, Gilderoy, Theo, and Millard. So only 4. But I do have an awaken on 2 of those, so that's pretty good. I've gotten 2 dupes. I do have another 5-star coming in for a compensation for the step up summons that they had. So I will be getting either Sophia or Fiora. So then I'll have another character there, but that one's free. I mean, it's not free. I did the step up banner, but then there's compensation because of the miswording on it. I have a lot of 4 out of 4 stars, as you can see. Like, not literally everybody, but quite a lot. I would say over half of the 4 out of 4 stars. In fact, yeah, there's only like 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are not 4 out of 4 stars. Luckily, I'm not really using any of those. I mean, Ramona's pretty good. I think Helga's probably not that good, but I do have an awaken on them. The 3 stars are pretty bad, but there's not that many of them. And they're not like unusable, right? Just because they're pretty bad doesn't mean that they're like completely unusable. The only reason they're actually kind of bad is because their level caps are so low. But if you awaken them, I mean, they don't star up, right? So their level caps being low means they're going to be kind of phased out pretty quick here, to be completely honest. I wouldn't even recommend using 3 stars. But overall, I've got 57 characters. My characters range, you know, the ones that I'm using are going from 48 on the low end. And, no, where's Theo? 46 is the lowest that I use in my party on Theo. And then it goes all the way up to my highest, which is Viola at 56. I'm working on getting my characters all up to about 55 to upgrade their gear so I can keep pushing the story a bit more. I was kind of getting one shot by the boss on a lot of my characters. So I think I just need some better armor, and then you get the next tier at 55. So that's kind of what I'm working on. But yeah, that's kind of where my account's at, how much I've spent, how much I've played, everything like that. And you can see my influences are 17, 16, 18, and it's actually, I'm like 4 away from power. And so it's going to be 17, 17, 18, probably before the end of the night. Anyway, yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Kind of a long video, but honestly, I don't feel like this is the kind of video you want to rush. Maybe I could have structured it a bit more, but then it wouldn't be a Purplatypus video without rambling and lack of structure. And if it had editing, I've done some edited videos, but honestly, I just like talking. I like saying it's because I'm chill, but it's because I'm lazy and chill. Anyway, much love. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. Let me know what you're feeling about the game in the comments down below. I'm interested to what your guys' experience has been, if mine is unique or if my experience is similar to everyone's. Yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye.